responses, which were recorded in the data and available on the city website as well for review for anybody that wants that. There's lots of favorable comments, like a dog park and frisbee golf. We talked extensively for especially both of those things, talking about the space of the park, any other kind of things that we needed to go along with. And we're not really recommending these things in phase one. So what we are recommending is a phased approach to this park. We have a large list of lots from community members. And like I said, we did the citywide survey. And we feel like a phased approach will be a better way to present it to the community, especially the neighbors. We'll be able to have immediate wins for those neighbors, and then better time to research the final end game as far as putting in a walking trail, putting in a picnic shelter, and then kind of determining how much more space we really have. So basically we want to include the logistical basics. Go to the next slide. The first phase, we want, first of all, this to be a dawn to dusk park. We want curbside access as well as 8 to 10 parking spaces available for people to include a bike rack with that. Lots of neighbors have the ability to walk, ride the bike to the park. The walking trail will be crush and run gravel, and that will be the perimeter of the entire park. Gretchen, we determined that was almost one, okay. And then that 20 by 20 picnic shelter with a concrete pad, which will be a permanent structure to include 2 to 3 picnic. Are you flipping the? Okay, I'm like, this is not working. Thank you, thank you. So we did some research and got a little bit of some estimates. First off, the parking, we want it to be ADA friendly, about a 60 by 60 gravel lot for 10 cars. There's already a street skirt right there that's existing on Kelser, and we're estimating about a $15 cost. The bike rack for about 10 bikes, and rough estimate $500. Picnic shelter, that concrete, and the wood shelter, about $22,000 for the structure. Some other things we talked about, picnic benches that would be donated by the community groups that might want some kind of community project. A walking trail, so this would also be ADA compliant, about 5 feet wide, and that crush and run gravel as well. So we have a breakdown of the cost there to the right. Signage for the park itself, we were thinking about $500 to $1,000, and we'd like it to match some of the signage. And miscellaneous things like trash cans and dog. So this is a potential layout of the park, and if you'll notice, the yellow over here to your right would be the parking lot and where the bike rack is, and that's right where that street skirt is. And then red in the corner there would be where we'd kind of like to place the picnic shelter. That way you wouldn't have very far to walk with your belongings that you. And then of course the walking trail would go the perimeter of the park. Like we talked about, the hard surface with the blacktop area for older to play basketball, foursquare, things like that. Could be various activities. Park benches that we talked about with the picnic park benches around the perimeter of the walking trail. We want to make this cost effective, and we want to use the best. We have the best use for this space. Lots more research to do. We have other ideas in mind, but we really know what we're looking at. Do any of the board members have anything to contribute?
If you do, we'd like to hear from you. Sure. Even though the dog park isn't really in consideration for the first phase right now, the reason we mentioned dog waste stations, because people can bring their dogs out there.
Right.
Yeah. So we need to have something to take care of that issue, even though we're not officially going to have a quote-unquote dog park. So, all the city rules will apply, well, leash laws, and et cetera. That's why the dog waste stations were meant to take care of that.
Good point. Council, any questions of anybody on the board? Bud?
I have one. Yeah, just out of curiosity, would the parking area still allow the 2 trees to stand?
We would hope so, yes.
That's the plan.
I have a couple questions. As far as, I was just surprised that Crush and Run would be ADA. And the whole thing, that would not allow for wheelchairs. So is that,
I don't know.
am I missing something?
Honestly, I do not know, but I think, is it all about how you pack the dirt and how you layer all the things that, I think, yeah.
Confirmed, yes.
Thank you.
So that would be a first component of the trail, and as more fun well to make it the correct. There is not a paved area that does comply and you want to make sure you have access.
Is the shelter, is that something that would be around, that just part of the park?
A permanent structure.
So you're not, no, I'm saying like, it's not something like the public
Something we
rent
would
out
rent
for
out.
like, birthday parties or whatever.
We hadn't talked extensively about that, but that was the idea was thrown out, just as we are able to rent the shelters at Municipal or South Lawson. Same thing.
First come, first served, I think makes it hard to use.
Bluebird Cat Farm does that. We've had birthday parties. I mean,
How do they designate that it's yours for the hour? Yeah.
pay for it. And then when other people start encroaching, you say, I paid for it.
Or
Yeah.
even if we don't choose to charge, having some kind of formal reservation, right, through Parks and Rec or
That's how the
something.
office currently handles.
Yeah.
Gotcha,
People
okay.
take their requests, is, we do a reservation form and that they have priority.
I think it's also important to
I was going to answer Allison's question. If you've been to Kids Island, that mulch on the surface there, believe it or not, ADA compliant for wheelchairs, yes, it is. If they put that around the entire trail that they're talking about, it would be in accordance with the requirements. Crush and Run's much better, because if you see the Crush and Run, or whatever they call that stuff, inside Kids Island is better. It does meet the requirements. So for that, my input, and these two people pushing this for a while. When I was on the board, I don't know if Kate Lee is still on your board or not, the student. We sat down, we were talking about the things that were going to go around City Hall. And I had kind of a one-on-one conversation. Comment to me that said, "Don't forget the older kids." And when she said that, I just kind of like, light bulb went off. I go, yes, we do. Playgrounds right now basically run to age 12, 5 to 12 and then through to that. But it completely leaves out the 13. And I think we, as a community, not just Poquoson, everywhere, kind of forgets the 13 to 17-year-old. And if there's a age group or demographic, whatever, that gets in trouble because of lack of activities, it's probably that. And some of the things I'd come out and, when I was on the board, I joined a bunch of these things, and I get a whole bunch of stuff from Game Time and other advertisers. Y'all have this. My thought was, and when I was talking challenge course, it's part of the exercise structure kind of thing. That not only do, and of course, children always play up. You know, a 4-year-old will want to play with a 7-year-old brother, sister. A 7-year-old want to play with a 12-year-old, and on like. And this is 13 plus. They're not cheap. Phased approach. And as far as a place, you know, there's never been a park really around here accommodate something like this. But I think if you can work it into a plan or something along these lines, it might be something. Right now, I talked with the school resource officer who does the middle school, and she knows. She calls them her students. Her students are the ones that get onto the turf field at the middle school, despite all the signage and the fence and the locks and everything like that. They're out there playing around. If there was something to do for them, that kind of gets them. And I realized that there's going to be your people like myself that went, oh, we want a walking trail. We don't want kids here. We don't want a skate park and all that kind of stuff. Well, you know, not all that. The fact that this park sits at the end, only real sidewalk in town, which goes up and down with stops you out there, you have enough parking for most people that would come parking after that, with the exception of Wood Creek Road. So I think it's a great idea, and just make it for all folks, to include those missing 13 to 17-year-olds, and give them something to do other than hang out at Ames Wharf.
Is something that we've talked about extensively.
Yeah. Is that like pieces of that we've spaced around the trail? Is that what you're talking about?
No, this is, you pass those on down. Sure. Every other year they put them out, and every other year I ask for them, and they send them to me.
When I was 17, I kind of liked hanging out at Ames Wharf.
But that's okay, I put some signs there, you can't go home at 10.
Yes, you will at this park as well,
Yeah.
if not before.
But yeah, just something like that, you know, those things are not cheap. No playgrounds are cheap these days.
Well, let me say that, you know, you've done your job, and you've done it well. Impressive presentation. Now, we need to get about the work of finding the dollars to implement the work that you've done, and we'll do that. We'll do that. So, any other questions, anybody?
I don't have a question. I just have a general comment for Parks and Rec's board. If you drive around town anytime, just about, day or night, there are kids out playing and walking up and down the trails. South Lawson Park is an example. Pocket Park down at Mexic. You just see that going on all over town. I was going to church Sunday morning because we were setting up for Easter. There were more than 100 vehicles around parks and recs for kids going out to the Easter egg hunt. It was the most recent example. But just generally, y'all do a super job for the folks in town, and we do appreciate that.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Great idea. Yeah, I agree. I love.
Fast, yeah.
We knew early on we didn't want to upset anyone. Voice their opinion, so.
Well, I live down there, so I appreciate it. I loved being able to have a voice, so that was awesome.
Anything else? Anybody else? All right.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
So much.
Good to see you, Steve. Yeah,